Good evening. I want to welcome you to the Cody Rouge neighborhood, zip code 48228. My name is Ulrich Baker. I'm with Urban Community Development Corporation, and tonight we had a neighborhood community meeting, and we discussed safety, safer neighborhoods, safer communities, safer homes. And we had the key leaders here to talk about how to better mobilize, how to build capacity, how to develop a network so we can be our brother's keeper. We had a phenomenal time. We're going to be doing a lot of wonderful things to make sure our neighborhoods are safer. We're not going to wait for anybody else to come in here. We can do it together. And be on the lookout. We're going to be doing a lot of other things. www.urbanneighborhood.org or .tv and be a part of it. Get active. We're looking to see you. Thanks so much.
And at this point, we really need people participating. Now, all of us here are supposed to be the leaders of our community groups. And what I'm asking of you is to reach out and decide to participate. Now, what I'm asking is, what is it that do you have questions, first of all, about this?
I have a couple.
Yes.
He concentrated on zip code 48228, and Arthur and I are in that zip
We
code.
talked about that. I think he just forgot. It's 48228, 48227, and it was another zip code. 48201?
4239.
We're 39,
239.
and
Okay.
then the park also
What's
is major. Rouge Park is
What's
a
the-
major chunk.
What's the zip code?
The park is 48228, I believe.
Okay, that's what we mentioned.
West of the
48228,
park is
42227,
39.
and 4239. He just didn't mention it, but we had a discussion about all the three of the zip codes. So that is included.
We just need a place to understand where to start from.
Because we looked at the map, and so every organization will be represented if they want to be. And that's the question right now. Do you all want to be? Now, we have the safety committee that meets here on a monthly basis. We need our leaders to participate in that safety committee and give your input. We have the patrols that go out on the Southfield is the West Town Patrol. On this side is the Franklin Patrol, and the Brothers on Patrol does both sides because they're working with the schools. We need neighborhood watches for the areas where the kids walk down the streets. So when they're getting out of school, we have people that have committed to sitting on their porches and watching these kids as they go home and as they go to school so that they're safe. We've had incidents where people have been stabbed, young people have been stabbed walking to and from school. We have a lady that is supposed to be missing in the community. We need people watching out for each other. And as he said, it starts with us meeting our neighbors too. So for those of us, I was so proud of Mr. Edge when I was on the phone on hold for him, and he was talking to his neighbor that just moved in. We all should be doing that. We all should be doing that. And so that's what it's going to take for us to know who needs to be in our community or who's supposed to be in our community, I should say. And those that are not supposed to be in our community that have maybe invaded our community as what do they call that? People that just squat, squatters. So, yes.
What we need to do as far as this, all coming together to do this, it seems like a great program and ideal. I mean, we work with Brothers on Patrol that 300 does, and patrolling Cody because of the gang violence up there. But in our individual communities, there's so much negativity going on, and nobody's reporting it or nobody's stepping up to do what's doing. When you see somebody at one of these houses, you need to step up and see why they're at their house. Even if they're in a truck or whatever, do they have a permit or do they have paperwork to be there? Because a lot of these houses, they're coming up to and they're stripping these houses, and people think that they're in a contractor's truck, that they're over there working, but they're over there, a lot of them stripping the houses. I deal with that every day in my job with the city, and I catch them all the time. But then the other things are people walking down the streets, just stop and find out why they're over there. Over on where Paul and I stay at, I have people coming from Dearborn Heights coming over onto my street selling drugs. And then they go around and back to their neighborhood. I follow them back to their neighborhood, took pictures of them and their house and stuff. We have a relationship with the organization over in Dearborn Heights. But that's again what the gentleman was saying, that we all need to come together and stop whatever's going on in here and make our community safe.
And just so you all know, just an example of what he said, there was a house that was directly across the street from me that I thought was just being stripped. So I started calling, first of all, the mayor's office, Neighborhood City Hall, I started calling. Then when he said he didn't know anything about it, I called Mr. Edge. And Mr. Edge knows, as a building safety engineer,
Demolition inspector, yeah.
okay, as a demolition inspector, he knows who's supposed to be there if the house is being torn down and who's not. And so he was able to get back with me after I left a message that those people were not supposed to be there. My husband went across the street, which God knows I was praying every second, because you never know what these people have. But also I know that as a man, a lot of times our men do need to step up and approach these people and let them know there are some eyes on you, what are you doing? And it's a scary thought of how it could, turn out to be bad, but we gotta be brave too. We really do. Yes.
I was glad you brought it up because I didn't know. We have across at the 5-block radius, Pastor Stanley just let me know yesterday that somebody was squatting in the house across the street. So, and I hadn't noticed it, but he had, because he patrols around there. Who do you call?
Well, if they are squatting, I would think, and Mr. Edge, you can kind of help me out, I would think that you'd be able to call the city to find out who owns the property. Am I correct in that?
Yes. What it is, if they're squatting, you have to prove, the police just can't come put them out. They have to prove that they're not supposed to be there. You need to get in touch with the owner and let the owner know what type of activity is going on at their house or property.
And how do you find out who the owner is? Can you go through the city record?
Or you might have to pull the,
Go downtown and take the address, and then find out from there. Because the house has been vacant for some time. And, we have 2 houses. And just on our way around here, my husband and I, we don't know what happened, but we were gonna ask the crime unit was out there. And earlier today, I saw a patrol, car, and they came next door to the house. So we don't know if somebody's been found in the house or what, But when we leave, I am going to my neighbor next door, because they went to her house, to find out what's going on,
There's actually a website that you can go on to find out who actually owns. It costs like $1, I think, $2. It's actually, get the record to it.
You know what the website is?
It's, I have to send it to you, it's isasoftware.org or something.
Okay, everybody has signed in, and what I can do is send it as, Kenyatta forward to me.
And Wayne County records, go on their website, and have them set it, they'll do
what each community needs to do is have a committee that address those vacant homes or issues that are going on, and then that's their job in that committee to find out what's going on with that property.
And that was actually brought up in the presentation too, that we need people to break up in committees to research things like that. So that if somebody has a question as to whether or not somebody is supposed to be in the community, there's somebody that can follow up on that information.
Okay, we have someone like that.
Okay.
Raymond Dumas. He has, in our entire community where every house that's listed,
Then on each one, each block, we told him, which houses are vacant. He's been up and down to a point that we know which ones are abandoned, we know which ones that there's squatters in, we know which ones that's just vacant. And in the course of this, over the last year and a half, we had, I don't know how many vacant houses like that on Metatol. And now, on one block of Metatol, within the last 2 months, they've torn down.
Yeah, that was a major project.
Exactly, they've torn down all, it may be 3 houses standing on that one block, and then they're coming over on each time, so in a 4-block radius, I'd say since May or June, they've torn down close to 50 houses.
Yeah, there's some more there, but it's just in the red tape.
Right.
But the other issue is, as far as us coming together and doing things, I have 1,200 homes in my community, and I tell them, as far as the men stepping up, just like Angie said, the men need to step up. With 1,200 homes, I should have at least 800 men in that community. There's no way that one house, drug house, should be able to come there, or somebody's that's the strip house where they're taking all the stolen goods. We had a house that was raided, and they found like 30 TVs in there, flat screen TVs that they've been breaking in these houses. So if that should not happen in any of these communities, where 1 or 2 houses take over the whole community.
Another problem on my block, my house was broken into in August, and I know for a fact it's the people that's across the street. The 18-year-old, the woman says she can't do anything with it. He comes out on the porch and just shoots when he gets ready. He called the police and they were like, "Well, are you sure?" I'm looking at it. He walks out the front door and standing on the front porch just shooting, which is right across so I can hear it echoing up my driveway. The house on both sides of me is vacant. And then across the street, the next 2 houses, the one was vacant. We didn't know we had people in it. We kept calling. They finally said, yeah, they're probably squatters. Eventually, they finally came out, so we're asking the people because they're out there pulling stuff out. I'm like, okay, who are you? And when my husband asked him, the one guy said, "Oh, we're doing it for the bank," or somebody said. And the other guy comes up, "Well, what do you have to do with it? What are you?" He said, "Wait a minute, man." He's like, "He lives here, on this block. And he's concerned because we're here in this house and he doesn't know who it is, So then next door to me, there were like 3 guys there, in and out, in and out. Then all of a sudden, next thing you know, here they come, they're throwing stuff out of there. So it's like, what's going on? They're saying that the bank is taking over, but the neighbors that actually lived there for years have only been out of the house like a year. So, it's like...
Without a collective front, it's going to be hard for individuals to fight.
Right.
So what we're proposing here is exactly what the gentleman has been talking about, how to pull together networks to do a couple of simple things, okay? Develop security, just like the guy you said who's surveying the area. How do we expand his capacity? Okay, how do we link him to another block club? Okay, and again, it's the few people who are doing the hard work. We need to pull those people together under this kind of plan and start moving forward. And it's not what we talked about tonight. It's not rocket science. And they said we have to write a huge plan, a proposal, so I talked about some key things. A light campaign. Turn on your lights at 7 o'clock. Everybody in the community turn on their lights at 7 o'clock. Keep it on until 10 or whatever the case may be. Just make sure your porch light is on. Something like that makes a difference. And then once we're able to identify who's doing what, now with his 1,200 residents, we can have if the men haven't stepped up in that community, well, maybe the men have stepped up strong in the community beside him. And how do we network those guys to help survey that area? How do we make sure we take that church in that area to help now to cover that land? Those are the ways we have to really be thinking about this from a planning perspective to change what we're going to do. Because the example you're giving here, I know everybody can give that kind of example about what they go through on their block. Everybody. How do we change that? We have to be able to come together and work towards a plan of increasing our capacity and working together collaboratively.
Does everybody know about crimemapping.com? Everybody? Okay. Because I was just thinking that that's just one of the tools that we can use to keep up with what's going on in the community. And, we just need to work together. So I guess I want to see a show of hands of how many people are willing to commit to this and say that you're going to go back to your organization, let them know what we discussed today, and let them know that you want us, your group, to be involved and committed to this plan of action, and that we're all going to work together as partners to make this happen. Just to show. Okay. Now, we won't meet again until February. So in the meantime, I want everybody to let your partners know about this event. I'm going to try and have another meeting maybe with us to, those of us that have raised our hands, to just try and see what maybe we can do to get our committee started. In other words, if you want to work with a committee that is patrolling, that's one thing. If you want to work with a committee that is going to work with the environmental police, that's another thing. If you want to work with a committee that is working with the abandoned and vacant homes and being stripped, that's another thing. So we're going to break down our committees, and we're going to have everybody go back to your groups, and we're going to go from there with where they want to work and their assignments. Okay?
Well, most of this is to help you guys out. Is collaborative through a dashboard system. And the dashboard system allows us to not beat ourselves on the head about what's going on with who and what. It really allows us to organize information properly and network information together. And it allows us to even link cameras, link incidents, and bring in information from crime reporting and use the technology to make this a lot simpler than what we think it is. It really is a lot more simple with technology. But most of this will be wrapped up into a dashboard, a community dashboard that 300 can see and all the leaders can see and work with and have guidelines for usage.
When is the next safety meeting?
Next month, well, that's what I wanted to
You
find
know the
out.
date?
The date we're looking at either the 10th or 11th of January for the subcommittee, the second subcommittee.
Yeah.
For the actual community meeting will be on the 4th Thursday. Safety, large community meeting, 4th Thursday.
And when you said
In
the large,
January.
are you talking about the meeting as a whole for the whole community?
For the
Or are you talking
community.
about just the safety
No, the
program?
safety subcommittee meets the second week. Then we're going to meet the second week in January. But
And
the
that's
actual
on what day?
Wednesday or Thursday. We're trying to decide which day we're going to meet now. And another thing I wanted to find out, would it be conducive to me in the morning or the evening for the majority that are here before we make the decision?
And that's another thing that I did want to ask the question of. I've had a lot of people that I've called. I'm so pleased to have the turnout that I had today, because a lot of people that are on this board also told me that they couldn't make it. So what I want to know from you is this a good day? If it's not, would another day be better, or would another day in the month be better? In other words, maybe the second Tuesday is not good, maybe the third or the fourth Tuesday, as long as we're not conflicting with the safety committee meeting. Is there another date that would be better for us to meet? And if Kenyatta didn't mind, maybe what we could do is also come together with the safety meeting and follow up, instead of having an additional meeting, because I know a lot of people are meeting out. I know that was one of the main things that I heard from some folks, they tired of meeting. So if Kenyatta wouldn't mind, maybe we could continue this discussion with the plan of action being rolled out as far as what the responsibility of each of our group will be. Yeah.
I haven't attended the safety meeting. The safety meeting, will we bring our people who are chairing that committee for each community, bring that to?
It would still be the president
Still,
at this
okay.
point, the
Then we
presidents
can-
of different organizations. And after we get everything situated, I would assume that maybe it would be a good thing if our safety committee group.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, because basically at the next safety meeting, we're planning, because we have like some things already set in place. Like for instance, we have folks that are actually doing safety patrol. We have Black Owned Gun is actually doing, assisting with the block clubs. There's a few other things that people may not be aware of. So at that meeting, we want to provide the rest of the community members with that information. And then maybe we should make sure that we continue to connect the dots. And then on the fourth Thursday in January will be the rollout of everything that we're doing as it relates to safety as a community as a whole. And then we're looking to break off into 4 breakout rooms. So there's a room for block clubs. There'll be room for information on community education. So we must break that out and then have that information, gather additional information from the residents, and then pretty much move forward to complete the overall plan.
I don't want to break up the momentum, but I was thinking that Mr. Baker was kind enough to provide food for those that came here because he was good. So, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to share with you that I know that the banks are trying to put together, she had brought up a very good point, that the people that go out, that they have hired like Safeguard and some other companies that go out to clean out the abandoned homes and to try to board them up and make them safer so there's not a lot of entry. Things like that, they're supposed to be wearing badges. They're supposed to have identification on them to make it easier so people know that if people really are there stripping the houses, or are they really there working for the banks to provide safety on the houses. So don't be afraid to ask for their.
And they should have paperwork too.
Yes.
Okay, on that note, because I deal with it every day,
I'm sure.
you be surprised with technology what they will have as far as printed out on paperwork saying that they even will have documentation with a city logo on it. I'll pull this up, no, you're not supposed to be here. I look at my tablet, they even have phony permits or whatever. And the police will come, they're sure the police have city logo on it, there you go. Because I know, because I work building safety, that it's not right then. But the average homeowner, they'll look at it and say, okay, and let them out.
And Mr.
So-
Edge, I don't want to put you on the spot, but would you mind letting everybody know how to contact you?
Oh,
It would just be the president.
well, I think I got a few cards. I give the cards out to the presidents. And you can email me if you have any questions. And my office number is on there also. I had a city cell phone, but they took that from us with all these cuts,
You don't want
Okay, so I think everybody here should really try and get Mr. Edge's number, since he's making himself available, because he's a very good contact to have when you have questions about somebody in your community stripping, to know whether or not they belong here.
The last pizza is cheese if you don't like meat.
Okay. So if you all can get your pizza, and we're not gonna be long, by the time you finish your pizza, I hope to have it all done. I just wanted to mention a few other things before we get there. Oh, if you can just take a second.
Development of the block clubs, one of the specific strategies here in Cody Rouge. And one of the major things that we're trying to do right now is to assist crime prevention and safety, and the concept of what we call a virtual block club, in that a lot of us may not want to have like a traditional block club where we come out and meet every month and that sort of thing. So, to that end, what I'm being asked to encourage and what I'm finding out is that some of us do have cell phones and we do have access to computers, and there are other ways, for example, to report, for example, that issue you had with the vacant house across the street from your home. Mr. Baker's presentation, he alluded to Detective Fountain. We have worked with Detective Fountain on many occasions in the past, and he is very dynamic. He is dynamic with the presentations that he does, and he does offer a lot of, I guess, presentations on neighborhood safety, crime prevention, home. He has just a long list of presentations, and I just want to say I'll be talking to Ms. Kenyatta tomorrow, and one of the things that I want to lift up is the possibility of collaborating and helping to provide that education, that sort of thing. So we can probably talk further on that tomorrow. But basically, the main issue is that I'm being asked to help develop block clubs within the associations. I've attended some of your meetings, Far West, West Side Drive, and what I try to do is try to work with you, the leaders, and ask how can I best help work within your specific neighborhood. In speaking with the Cody Rouge Community Action Alliance, one of the things I was asked to do was concentrate on this immediate area. And last month, we had a meeting last November, and basically the results of that meeting was walking up and down the blocks. And as Mr. Baker said, there's no other way to do it, but by connecting the dots, you have to get out and be active. 5-block radius, Pastor Stanley and Sister Florida here, I've worked with them also in trying to help just connect and just those things that, again, that were in the presentation. He said it's not rocket science. It's just hard work and just getting out and meeting your neighbors. So, and I'm not going to say too much, but I have my own testimony of how my block club was formed 3 years ago. House was broken into. One of my neighbors from down the block said that I thought they were taking a for sale sign out from the side of my house, and it was my flat screen TV, And to make a long story short, we meet tomorrow, we meet on Thursday night, and it's our 3rd year. And some of those people in that next block have agreed to join our block club. And we've been growing, we're pretty active and everything. So basically, just want to say, thank you for, the opportunity to just say what I do. And if you have any questions specifically, I'm with Black Family Development, and this is funded through the Skillman Foundation. And this is, actually, I've been working over since June, and we've been working over in Northeast Detroit in the Osborne community for 3 years prior to my coming here. So basically, I just want to thank you. And we are having a meeting upstairs here on December 21st, which is next Wednesday. I tend to contact the block clubs that we have attempting to establish. And not only just establish, it's kind of easy to establish, help get one started, but some of the work that we're finding is how do we sustain? How do we sustain, and how do we encourage the population that is kind of invisible? Our men are invisible on a lot of levels. And we know that I was at a meeting last night, and there was a gentleman in the house, and the rest of the meeting consisted of women. And I'm being a man, I want to greet the gentleman in my house. A man come to my house and going to be in my house, he's going to see me all day. So I find that a bit puzzling that, it's difficult to engage our men, but that's where the work is. So I just want to say, thank you. And again, if you want to come by John Bosco Hall next Wednesday evening, it's 6 o'clock. It's going to be probably upstairs, but maybe here, maybe in this room. They told me that they were going to move me. But I don't, and this is just my contact information. I do have some flyers. If I could obtain your email address or address from Nancy.
If nobody minds, what I'll do is just pass the information on to him to the sign-in.
Because I do share information, and some of you may have received the flyer already, and some of you may have received the information from the crime alert. It actually came from Grandma, and it came out on Friday, and that's something I know that we're lifting up with the Cody Rouge Community Action Alliance. Another way to connect the dots is just letting everybody know what's going on. They had a description of I believe it was a gold-colored cutlass, and it was 2 gentlemen, and somebody saw a car and that sort of thing, a gun inside the car, and basically when it came to me, I just wanted to make sure that that information was transmitted elsewhere. Again, the detective found he does a great training on how to report crimes in progress, how to neighborhood problem solving, and see we all have those problems, who to call and that sort of thing. Mr. Edge is here, and he is definitely an expert in the field, but even sometimes it's still difficult for him to know for sure, who to call, because again, he would have to know all the details of that specific situation, So I've heard, okay, who owns houses? Is it the city? Is it the county? Is it the bank? If whoever owns, you got to call 2, 3 different people, so it's just great that we have this strategy to become organized and collective, because as Mr. Baker, I heard him again say, when the bad guys are out here, they're already organized, they're already grouped, they're already strategized. So they have a plan. They have a plan. So if we're together and we have a plan, I think that a lot of things that he was saying is right on the money. So again, you all are invited to come next week. If you RSVP and let me know, and I know it's going to be 50 people here, and I know I can plan for 50, because I try to have some light refreshments and that sort of thing, but it's good to know in advance. But other than that, just thank you.
Okay, I just wanted, I had pulled out the notes from the last meeting, and I just wanted to keep people abreast of what we discussed at our last meeting, because that was actually supposed to be the order of the agenda, but I wanted to make sure that Mr. Baker had a good amount of time to present as well. It's very short. Paula Torelli spoke about Channel 20's interview, and our last meeting was on August the 9th. And in the community, I'm sorry. No, the last meeting was October 11th, right? Okay, so. No, we didn't have one. So October 11th was the last one. And Kenyetta explained about the board elections on November the 15th, and she also went over the requirements for the position. We had 4 people at the meeting who wanted copies of the large partnership map that I have here. So since Mr. Edge has been kind enough to donate those maps, we will be expecting them for the next meeting. So I hope to see you all return for that as well. We need to know the boundaries for, I had mentioned the fact that we needed to know the boundaries of Southfield because of the attendance, to make sure that we made the corrections of the map. And what I found out is that Plymouth Southfield that I have listed here is actually just in this area. So for those of you that might live in this area, we have no organization. So we really need an organization desperately in this area because this is a large amount of property that, and residents that we do not have representation for. Yes, Paul?
Okay, what's the top line? It's Plymouth Road?
From Plymouth to Joy Road and from Evergreen to Southfield.
That area north of Plymouth and west of Southfield, that was the Lashley Cox Community Organization, where it's white.
This area right here?
Over
this way?
No, not Weatherby.
This
Right
way?
here, no.
Okay.
Inside Southfield.
Part of it was Southfield was little 8 little blocks.
This area was right here.
See if I can find my pen.
This used to be Lashley Cox.
Okay. Well,
And,
I know that,
Barbara Long was the president. She was
Uh-huh.
also the president of the 14th Congressional District. But she and her husband moved,
mhm.
and that organization just fell apart.
Okay,
And the
well,
people that restarted it,
that's
Oh.
Mary.
Mary
Yeah,
Burns.
Mary. Mary calls it Plymouth Southfield, but it was Lashley Cox originally, so.
Okay. Well, it has changed because it is Plymouth Southfield now. As a matter of fact, we have a representation, even though Mary wasn't here. We have a representation here for that area.
So,
And Mary did make it clear to me that this was their boundaries.
So what are the streets?
For Plymouth Southfield, it's from Southfield to Stahaland or Waverly. She actually told me Waverly goes this way.
So that
And
includes,
then from Capitol to Plymouth.
that includes Cody High School.
No.
No. Cody is
Cody is
in here. As a matter of fact, it's in this uncovered area.
Yeah, that's what I said, that area,
Yes.
which is a problem.
Yes, it is.
That's a big
It's a
problem.
big problem because we need somebody watching the kids in these neighborhood watches, because that's what I was saying, we need people sitting on their porches when they go to school and from school,
Now, there
just
are
watching
some,
them.
but there, even though there isn't a community organization, there are block clubs in that area.
There are block clubs.
There are black clubs, because
Yes.
remember Mary McGee?
Mary doesn't live in that area though, she
Mary
lives in
lives
my
on the other
area.
side.
Oh, does
Oh,
she?
South
Yeah.
She
Side,
lived in there.
No,
No,
Mary
she
lives.
lives
So
on the
that-
side.
Other pink area is
Used to be
Franklin
Franklin
Park.
Park.
Okay.
No, so
Yeah, I, you know,
if, cause Kenyatta, do you live in this area?
No, I stay,
You stay up here?
Actually, right up there in the top of the area.
Which,
The top
which
part.
one, this one?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, we need somebody in this area that's gonna
My
stop.
father lives in that area.
He does?
Yes, he does.
Okay, maybe, you can discuss with them.
Oh, no.
Because there's a lot of benefits to having an association for those of us that are a part of it. I mean, I think that we've seen some benefit from the police department as far as being, there for us when we need it. I think that we have been able to get grants for, being able to do home repair because we were organized. So there are benefits to being an association. It's just that you have to get all the other block clubs together. So it's about reaching out. And Mr. Baker had a list. I believe I have that list as well of the different associations. And if you can't get it from me, or you know, you can't get in contact with me, even though I work here at Don Bosco, you might want to contact the Neighborhood City Hall, because they can do that, copy that same list for you. It may take a couple of days, but they can get that copy to you if there's anybody in this area. But we need a representation in that area.
I have to say, I have reached out to quite a few people in that area, so, you know, just
Okay.
moving forward. And-
Okay.
do you have some block clubs there, Kevin?
Yes, yeah, I have reached out,
Yeah.
you know.
So with
And
that
that's the
being
purpose of,
said,
and I invite them,
Encourage.
especially next Wednesday.
yeah, we need to encourage them to be,
Warwick Block Club, wasn't that?
Association.
Oh, yeah, Roy, Mr. Wainwright.
That's not you, that's what we decorated the, Academy House and the Christmas lights up on it. It was
yeah, I saw that.
Okay, so I need to get with you, or you need to get with the other people before I redo this map, because I haven't originally printed up with the information that,
I think I told your wife about this area,
okay,
and I think I told her about this one too. The fact that it's a change in it.
all right.
I don't know who this is, so you said, who was that? Do you know?
That was never an organization.
Never an organization, okay, so
As
that's
far-
another area that's
I
rather
lived
small.
here forever.
We still need an organization.
There's never been an organization
No.
that I'm aware of.
Okay,
And I've been involved since the 70s, so.
okay. So with that being said, we want to, like I said, move ahead. So the next meeting, I guess you could say, will be a planning meeting that we'll have at the safety meeting to kind of bring the next steps.
I will get an email about that date.
Yes, yes.
Can we
Can you?
just real quick,
Mhm.
AM or PM?
Whatever works best for everybody, I can do.
Trying to push the AM meetings, I guess there's a lot of PM meetings, but
Uh-huh.
I
And-
say
What
yeah.
day are those meetings?
What,
either Wednesday, Tuesday not gonna be right, so Wednesday or Thursday.
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 It's a couple of Thursdays that, in the AM, I'm involved with, Detroit 300, we're campaigning at Cody. And so Thursdays, because of what Thursday it was.
This first one will be like the second Thursday of January. Is that,
What time?
I was thinking noon, so people have to know lunch.
Well, if it's at noon time, I can do that, because, we campaign in the morning from 7:30 to 9, and then again from 1:30 to, 3:30.
but with a show of hands, how good is noon for people? Is noon?
Sometimes I would.
You said
It looks
Thursday
like the
noon.
majority of people saying noon.
No,
is
it's-
good.
Noon would be good.
Thursday or
What we
Wednesday?
want, steak and lobster?
Moving
get
on.
started.
Okay, so noon on a Wednesday or Thursday, you said?
Thursday.
Thursday.
January the 12th, I believe
That's the second Thursday.
that's the 12th.
That's the 12th.
I'll send something to you tomorrow.
Okay. Now, as far as our meetings continuing, again, I've had some concern about this being not so good time for people. Are you taking it over to, okay, thank you. This not being such a good time for our group to meet. So is there a preference that you all have that are here? This is your preference? Okay, because I remember you saying you had another application.
I did, but that's because it was supposed to be in January.
Okay.
I juggle meetings.
Okay.
So when we're.
I gotta get ready.
Okay. We'll try Okay, so February 7th at 12. I'm trying to move this quick because I'm hoping that we don't have no more. Okay, so that's good for everybody. Raise your hand, February 7th at 12.
It's all about
Raise your
content.
hand.
Your website now is all about
February
content.
7th at 12
What you doing right now? You're doing
12
content.
o'clock.
With this, we can keep it going.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. And we'll do February 7th at 12 o'clock. And Kenyette's meeting is at January the 12th at 12 o'clock. And we'll be meeting every other month after that.
Some of the other.
January 12th o'clock.
Yes.
And then the safety subcommittee will be coordinated. It's not gonna be-
Oh, they coordinate.
For the subcommittee, right? Because the regular committee meets every month. So we don't want
January 12th, that's
Every
your
other
meeting.
month.
Okay, and then February is, okay.
Okay, so that is a wrap. Thank you very much. We appreciate you all being here and giving your input.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not.
Okay.
Other stuff.
Hey everyone, before you leave, the group that's helping me organize, I had two people here tonight. One of them was on our board